We'll get started. So thank you everybody for attending. We'd like to thank our sponsor for tonight, Samuel Valentine, Station Road, Norton Bywater. And if you could put your hands together for our special guest tonight, Mr. Garry Schofield. Mr. Phil Caplan. And Mr. Richard Shaw-Wright. Unfortunately, Mark Wilson can't make it tonight. He's commentating on a football game. Sunderland for Talk Radio, is that right?
I thought you said football. Sunderland against the Jags.
Just sacked my job, haven't they, sacked me?
Who?
Sunderland.
Hello. Oh, you think I know how these things work when you have 17 years of doing this?
Without further ado, I'll hand over to the panel. I'll take this microphone into the audience in case there's any questions. But Richard and the panel are going to kick it off. We're going to have a debate about rugby, see where it takes us, and we hope everybody enjoys the evening. Thank you.
I have to remember that this is a family show, and when someone offers you the chance to say we're going to have a big debate about Rugby League, not to do the obvious gag as if it was Mrs. Merton. But thank you all for coming. It's nice to see that we've come to Castleford, but I'm from Wake, at least to elite supporters, obviously. I don't know. You've let us in the building, which is quite nice. I can tell you, having been working in radio and various things since 2002, started at Ridings FM, I never thought that one day I'd be sharing a stage with a Rugby League Hall of Famer in Garry Schofield. What a legend he is. Man of Steel, Golden Boot winner. He's in how many Hall of Fames? 3 of them?
I think 3.
Don't count now. 3 Hall in the Leeds Rhinos Hall of Fame, the West Tigers Hall of Fame, and the Rugby League Hall of Fame itself. How many people in the Rugby League Hall of Fame?
23.
23. People still can't stand
They don't understand because they didn't win no medal to say why you in the Hall of Fame.
You won the National Panasonic Cup in Australia, as we discovered last night on the show, and the Yorkshire Cup in 1988. Apart from that, but he didn't win at Wembley. Didn't win at Wembley. Castle have done that. You haven't. I'll throw it to Scully. I don't even know what we're doing, to be honest, but I'll throw it to Scully because what have you made of the 2019 season, which of course we're coming up to the grand final. St Helens versus Salford. Who wants Salford to win? St Helens? What a big contrarian there. No, here we go. Your thoughts on the 2019 season, Scott?
Yeah, thanks, Izzy. Good evening, everybody as well. Thanks for the warm reception and the respect. So hopefully that will be shown. As you've noticed here before I start, there's 3 rugby balls on the table. They're all signed by myself, and these are going to be given away. So I'm going to be asking 3 questions, I guess regarding my career. So don't be going on Google, don't be going on your phone because it could be a little touchy between Leeds and Cass, as everybody knows. The Leeds fans being fell out from there. And the rivalry between Leeds and Cass. So listen, before I go into the season, I'm going to throw the first one out. I'm going to throw the first one out to see who wants to win the first Rugby League ball. Right? And hands up. Hands up if you get me the right question and you get the signed ball from the legend. Leeds and Cass played in the Yorkshire Cup final in 1988. I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, it was the best pass I ever received. Best pass I'd ever received from Grant Anderson. You know, I never even played with Grant. But I tell you what, he was right in the bread basket, which opened the try-scoring floodgates for the Leeds Rugby League Club on that day in 1988. To win a signed ball, what score was it in that day? 1988, what score was it when Leeds hammered Castleford Tigers? What was the score that day? Don't be going on Google. Yes.
33-12.
Sorry?
33-12.
Not right.
Oh, you're rubbish.
Not right. Not right. Come on, we've got to be on by Thursday. Come on.
32-12.
No. Not far off though. Not far off.
28-12.
No.
32-16.
No.
Let's tell 14.
No. That's the question that I have. All right, I'll let you go and Google. Go Google if you want to. Look at him now. Look at him. Go and Google.
32A.
No.
3210.
No.
3212.
Sorry.
3312.
Sorry.
3312.
No. Not far off.
3314.
No.
3310.
Sorry.
3310.
33-10. Correct. There we go. There it was. 33 points to 10. There you go. Two wonderful interceptions. Grant Anderson to me. And Tom Joyner to Carl Gibson. Yeah, the question was, what's the season been in 2019? Well, I think to be honest with everybody, apart from St Helens, it's been a season of inconsistency by everyone, hasn't it? Certainly when you look at the sides that were in the bottom four, you look at the inconsistency from there, and the way that Warrington dropped off for the last 8-9 games of the season, the way Hull dropped off from there. Leeds, our club, certainly from the start of the season, absolutely garbage for the first 14-15 games until they realised they weren't going to be good enough. Castleford, started off pretty slow, then hit the good form, and then I say when the business end of the season, just missed from there. St Helens, they're the only side that being consistent, hammered everybody 16 points from there. Inconsistency, Rich. I think that's the name of the game for this season. But Salford, they've not been inconsistent when it's the business end of the season, and I think it's going to be an absolute belter of the grand final.
Good evening. No more mentions of Leeds. Apart from the fact that I thought the shirt that said best 7 was Luke Gale. And I am actually smaller than I am in real life. I think we had a narrative this year, which when you're sort of involved in the media, that's what you need to tell stories. Now, whether it was the right one, because it was all about what was happening at the bottom of the league, I'm not sure, because you've got to get a balance between standard and what you might see as contrived excitement. I don't think it's been a great season again, and if we're honest, I think we all know the answer why. It's just far too long. I'm sure we were sat here last year and maybe the year before that and at various other supporters forums that we've all been at, and to start a season in January when these players put everything into the physical side of the game, it's just impossible to keep it going for 29 regular season weeks, then the Challenge Cup, then the playoffs, and I think that does have an impact on standard. The big story of the year was probably London. I think at the start of the season we all said, in a couple of games we'll be able to put our arm around Danny Ward and say he did a decent job. Came up with an almost championship team, gave them all a chance and took it to the last weekend of the season. That's a great story. But I do think as a sport we need to focus on excellence, and that's sort of the reason why I want St Helens to win the grand final. I think Salford is the story and people will go and support Salford, but what St Helens have done this year is similar to what Toronto did in the Championship. They've been so much better than all the other teams that I think they have to reward that. The other divisions, I'm not sure the Championship was as good a competition as people try to make out. The difference between the team at the top and the teams at the bottom, partly because of the money that they get to spend, was too great. It was a bit of a chasm. The interesting story that will develop out of all of that is what now happens to Bradford. They really set out to make that top 5 and secure themselves financially, didn't do it and are in all sorts of trouble again. League One I have some reservations about, and I think we'll talk wider about where the game's going to go in the future. And the worry is that the teams in League One will be cut adrift when there's less television money. So again, I think there's some issues with where the game is semi-professional and where the game is fully professional, and it's a little bit like oil and water, and sometimes they don't mix. So, not a brilliant season. No Yorkshire clubs involved at this time, which is very disappointing. But I hope the right team win the final game.
Phil, you're saying there's no Yorkshire teams involved, but there are on Friday. They'll remember. All approach for Rugby League on our programme on Monday. And to get the league table, I actually remember where everyone finished, and I've forgotten already. With Wakefield's exciting slump into almost relegation towards the end of the season, I was trying to give up and looking at what was going on. We brought the magazine, we should have brought the Leeds in Crisis t-shirts, instead of gone down the storm here in Castleford. Because let's face it, that's the real story of 2019, is how bad Leeds were again. It was great to see An absolute disaster of a season at Emerald Headingley Stadium. They open up all these new stands and serve up some absolute dross to the people. I played to the crowd, I don't care. Castleford,
There's only one of us going home at the moment.
Castleford may have finished 5th and were awful against Salford a couple of weeks ago, but at least they finished above Leeds, who were absolutely dreadful. And now they've gone out and spent £100 million on Luke Gale and whoever else they're going to sign over the off-season. Still got to sort out what Richie Mano's going to do, which is exciting. But do you want to know Cass? He's free now? Like I say, playing to the audience. So he's here as the second coming of Bruce Forsyth with his little quiz show this afternoon, so that's been quite good. But we had the opportunity in Super League this year. Phil's talking about the top and not wanting to talk about the bottom. We had an opportunity to get rid of one of these sides, like Wakefield, like Huddersfield and Hull KR, and we lost London in the end, which is very sad. But at least, you know, we all know now, Castleford Tigers, when they lose players this season, I mean, the club has announced that Greg Minnikin's off the Hull KR, and they've deleted that tweet already. But all the players now, all the cast-offs are off the Hull KR. Mark said on the show a couple of weeks ago, he thinks they're going to finish bottom next season. We're all very excited about the 2020 season already when this one hasn't finished. We need to talk about Castleford, because obviously we're in Castleford. 5th in the table. And you say it's going inconsistent year overall in Super League. And I guess Castleford, 15 wins, 14 defeats in the men's Super League, I have to point out, live up to that billing of inconsistency.
Yeah, but also as well, I think one standout player was Liam Watts, wasn't he? You know, and I think since Watts has come, yeah, I guess it came under a bit of a cloud. There was no doubt regarding his talent, but as the stories were right over in Hull, you know, maybe a bit of an issue, we would say, off the field. But to be honest with you, if a player wants a couple of beers after the game and this sort of thing, I don't mind that, as long as he's doing the job on the field from there, so I don't really mind that. But one for sure, Castleford got a better deal, didn't they? You know, because he is a quality player, and when you talk about consistency, he has been simply outstanding for Castleford this year. And what I can't believe, I was chatting to him at the Man of Steel on Sunday night, and he's not even made the Great Britain squad for the tour. He's made the England 9 squad, which I guess is a second string thing, to be honest with you, from there. But he's been put on standby, and he's going to be with England 9s, which I find very strange, because form picture, realistic, where he should be selected. And Liam Watts, he's up there with Thompson, he's up there with Walmsley. And then for me, certainly with his form, he's sure he should be in the Great Britain squad from there. Castleford, overall, when you looked at Dow's interview after the Salford game, he was pretty happy. I think overall they finished 4th, aren't they, losing to Salford. I think maybe deep down, maybe just a little bit disappointed. Everybody gets injuries. I don't buy into the scenario from any club where they complain about injuries. Rugby League is a contact sport. They have squads of 25 to 30 players. Whether some of them are good enough to play week in and week out, I guess that's another issue from there, you know. But I think finishing 4th with the squad what we've got, missing very important players, as we know with Luke Gale, as we know with Michael Shenton, Junior Moores, and a few others from there. I think overall, for Cass, it's been a successful season. Inconsistency like everybody else, but to finish 4th with the major players being missing, I think it's been a success.
Obviously, I have to defer to you in the room, because you see Cass every week and we just get an impression of how they're playing and maybe see them live 5 or 6 times. But I think the contrast that I found oddest this year was that Cass have always been classic. It's always been their attack that has marked them out. 2017, they were a joy to watch. We were all talking about they'd revamped the way the game was played. Darryl has always wanted to promote the ball. They've got 3 halfbacks on the coaching staff. And yet this year they just seem to struggle to score points, to be creative, to have a plan B. Now I know that obviously some of that is down to, you go back to 2017, you have by far the best fullback in the competition who offered a different outlet that clearly isn't there at the moment, which it can't be. There isn't another player like him and the way he played that year. And again, Luke Gale was the orchestrator of all that. He's barely played this year, but I was surprised at perhaps some of the signings. I don't know, you will, whether, for example, Jordan Rankin is good enough. I don't know whether Peter Matautia is good enough. I think they're very good squad players, but when they are your first starters, irrespective of injury, I'm just not sure there was enough variety in that Cass team. And the other thing, without being in any way critical of any player who laces a boot in this sport, it's an honour to watch them, is I'm not sure the big names played as well this year for Cass. You know, Grant Millington got his form back towards the end of the year. Not sure Paul McShane was as influential this season as he has been perhaps the last 2 seasons. Jesse Senelafeo seemed to lose his discipline partway through the year. And I know Junior Moore's had fitness issues, but the big guys, the ones you rely on when the youngsters and the, as you say, the squad players are coming into the team, I'm not sure they did enough. I think 4th is okay, but 4th was still nearer the bottom of the league than it was the top. Everybody other than St Helens was nearer the top than the bottom. I think we marked every team as they fell out of the competition, and maybe 6 out of 10 for Cass. That might be unfair. I don't see them every week, but it's a year now where they need to kick on quite clearly.
6 out of 10, you happy with that? No? I have no. That's a good see then. You've had plenty to say about Jake Truman all season, Scully, and obviously he's going to have a new partner next year at halfback. We expect it's going to be Danny Richardson, although the deal hasn't been made as of yet, so it could still be Richie Wyler. You don't know. I'm trying to push him on you. I'm not working for Gary Henderson today. John Ryan Hampshire, he's available. No one can. He's got a good edge, hasn't he? Jake Truman, and who will be playing alongside him?
Well, let me tell you this. Castleford would be better off signing me than Richie Myler. I'm telling you, and I said, well, he signed Richie Myler 2 years ago. It was no good for us. You know, they were supposed to give him a role of being an organiser, somebody who's going to get around the park. He's never been able to do that. He's a support player, but as I say, they've realised now with the signings what they've made, obviously with Robert Louis, and now Luke Gale's come from there. And I say that no, Richie Myler's not good. Well, he's not good to play Super League anyway, it's as simple as that. But as far as Truman, yeah, Truman's a quality stand-up, but what Truman needs, he needs a quality number 7 at the side of him. You know, and at times, when I have watched him, he gets too close to the ruck area. As a number 6, you need to be around about 25-30 metres away from that ruck area from there. And if I was part of the Castleford coaching staff, one thing I would be telling Jake would be, you don't go anywhere near that ruck area. You don't go 25 metres anywhere near there. You've got a good organiser in Matt Shane, but what he needs is a quality number 7 to say, stay away, this is not your role. If you get Danny Richardson, yeah, it's still a point to prove on his day, his quality. So if they get Richardson, it should be the right balance between 2 quality young halfbacks from there. If they identify their own roles, the balance should be good. And listen, I said on the show last night, I'm not saying they're going to be anywhere near what the H-Bonds were in Ardesty and Hepworth, but hopefully you've got the right balance. Truman will fulfil that talent, playing a lot more away from the ruck area, organising. I use the word every week on the show, you know, using that vision and awareness. Make sure that scheming to see where the 2 and 3s can be organised, the 4 and 3s from there, and creativity with a ball in hand. But yeah, you've got a quality number 6, and hopefully that's going to progress when you get a quality number 7. And if you get Richardson, I think it'll be a cracking buy for you. I do.
Vision and awareness is 3 words, but that's neither here nor there. I felt sorry for Jake Truman this year because he was so good last year, the young player of the year. He was clearly targeted this year by every team that played Cass. They knew that if they could shut down and make him defend rather than run with the ball in his hand or play what he could see in front of him, that you were virtually going to stop Cass. And it will have been a great year of education for him, but he can't do that again this year. He needs to learn from that, and Cass need to come up with another option. And I'm sure they will. I think if they do get Richardson, which you'll be thanking Leeds for paying all that money for Gale to go and get Richardson. That's 2 of the best young halfbacks in the British game, and we don't have enough of them. It's the default position to normally go to Australia to buy our halves. If you get the 2 best young British halves, and you can keep them together for 10 years, you can find a way of them merging their respective talents. There is a slight worry that they both want to dominate, and one of them's probably going to have to subvert that role to the other one. But if it works, that's a springboard for the future of Castleford.
And we'll talk more about Great Britain in a moment, but it's a shame, of course, just going, was it 2-3 years ago you predicted Deck Patton and Jordan Lilly in the Great Britain halfback partnership?
Move on.
a man of many talents, not necessarily spotting the big players. There you go. I don't think there's much more to say about Castleford season this year. because as you say, we don't see them week in, week out like you do, but fifth is not a bad position to finish in. Obviously, fourth. Fifth in the table. Fourth then, finish with Warrington. Terrible, aren't we? Warrington, how did Steve Price get on the Coach of the Year shots when they were second? They were second in the table, and they blew it. I know they won the Challenge Cup. Mind you, that's all thanks to Rob Hicks, isn't it? I'm not in the pay of Ian Lanigan. It's not me. I'm in the pay of no one. Unfortunately, that's why Mark's not here. So Castleford finished fourth in the table. We need to talk about Salford because, of course, they are the team that all the neutrals have bought into. Everyone's going to buy their tickets now and go to the grand final with Jackson Hastings t-shirts on because he is the man of steel. Taking over as we learned last night from Ben Barber. If you weren't listening to the show last night, we completely forgot who won it last year. He's been rubbed out the record books. Ben Barber doesn't exist anymore. You know, when Luke Gale, no one, and then Jackson Hastings. Jackson Hastings, man of steel, so obviously followed him in your footsteps. You were there to see him crowned as such, and you've been on the panel all year. Who have been the players who impressed you in 2019?
We certainly mostly Blake Austin as well before he got injured, and I've mentioned him, Liam Watts, to be honest with you, from there. Yeah, there was the top five. George Williams, I wasn't convinced with George Williams, to be honest with you. I think for the first 10 or 12 games, it was very old, like Wigan won, weren't they, to be honest with you, from there. So the three standout ones was Jackson Hastings, Blake Austin, and your very own Liam Watts. But again, it's not just been Jackson Hastings who's been a star for Salford. I think everybody has been. You know, they've worked as a team. Every individual, from a point of view, they've identified their own roles and what the role is on the field. The coach himself has got to tune out the players. You would say most weeks. I think they had a run of maybe three or four weeks when it was a situation where it was all coming out with Salford players were leaving. They were supposed to be bit in-house fighting, and players didn't care less. That was all a myth. We're led to believe it was all a myth, and then the closed-up shop. Ian Watson's getting the best out of his players. Great man management. And let's not forget here, when you look at that Salford side, certainly from 1 to 20, they're all journeymen. Nobody else wanted them. Every club has rejected these players. So it's a credit to the players to take on board what the coach has asked for. And it's a credit to the players to play with that consistency, that belief. And one thing to show me as an ex-player is I love to see players with a smile on the face. And every single Salford player, they're enjoying this journey. This journey on Saturday, it comes to the terminus, and that terminus is Old Trafford. And I predicted on the show last night that I fancy Salford to win by 7. Because you look at St Helens, last year in the 2 big games, Catalan's turned them over, Warrington turned them over, Warrington turned them over this year in the Challenge Cup. You put pressure on them fellas because pressure is on, because they know they're not going to be regarded as a great side until they start winning some decent silverware. Salford are loving this journey, and they've been a credit. I think they've been a credit to the Super League this year. They've brought some new enthusiasm, belief from the lesser clubs, even for your own club. Richie, Wakefield. Oh, Jesus Christ! Can you believe it? A Wakefield fan wearing a Castleford jersey. What's all that about? It's like asking me to put on a Wigan jersey. Absolutely pathetic. Or even saying, you know, Doug Lawton was a good coach. Absolutely. Not a chance. Not a chance. You know, but so it gives that belief for everybody, and also, you know, that that journey can be completed. And I'm sure we're all supporting Salford because of being neutrals from there, and you know, seeing a new name on the trophy. But yeah, Jackson Hastings, without a doubt, fully deserve the Man of Steel.
I think there's a real unsung hero in the Salford ranks who brings out the best of Jackson Hastings, and he could be the guy that turns the grand final Saturday. I think Joey Lussick has been absolutely superb, and if you were talking about players perhaps who don't get the recognition they deserve, they were never going to be up in the Man of Steel running. But the way he comes off the bench and has played virtually all of his life with Jackson Hastings, it's almost like Hastings grows another leg because Lussick's on the field. I think he's been absolutely superb, and the two things really, I don't think it's just the way Jackson Hastings has behaved on the field, and I don't think there's any doubt that he has been the best player in the Super League. I think it's everything he's done off the field, everything he's said, all the work he's done in the community, all the social media that he's done, which if you follow him or read him, just full of respect for other people, for the game, for kids, for what the sport has done for him. He is humble and he's grounded, and that's why he's a great story. Bit of a shame it's going to Wigan, obviously. The other great story is Ian Watson. It's not what Salford have done this year. It's where they were 2 years ago, which was what, 10 minutes away from probably going into the Championship and extinction. To have turned that around as a club, and all the other people involved. There's a director called Paul King who put his house on the market to make sure they could sign some of these players, which gave them the squad that they needed to start moving up the league. Ian Blease clearly has done a really good job in the CEO, keeping the club moving forward. It's a great sporting story to go from such adversity to making a grand final. Well, we hope there's going to be maybe 70,000 people there. Last year, I think there was 65 when Wigan played Warrington, which was down on the previous 3 years. We had a couple of sellouts. I think, again, that's fixture fatigue, that when the same team plays each other 5 times in a year, fans, neutral fans particularly, don't want to go. We've seen that game. We've watched it on telly. I think this Saturday a lot of people will go because they've got someone to support and they've got a story to be there if Salford finish it off. If we're talking about who we think is going to win, and Gary's gone early with his 7 for Salford, every focus this week has been on the Salford story, which is probably how it should be, but no one is talking about St Helens. And I think that makes them really dangerous. That's how they want it. They don't want the pressure on, they don't want people saying there could be bottlers. They know that it's Justin Holbrook's last game. They want to send him out in a manner that he feels he deserves, having turned that club around amazingly from when he arrived and the dross they were playing under the latter days of Kieran Cunningham. It wasn't St Helens we'd seen all those years and got to know and enjoy. And Holbrook changed that very quickly, and he's taken them to virtually within a game of or two of the finals. I just think that they might be loving it at the moment, that no one is talking about them, and clearly they are the best team. So I hope Salford put up a really good display. I think the game we saw in Super League at the Halliwell Jones Stadium, whatever they call it, Mender something. It was one of the games of the season, ended 32-30 to St Helens. That was after they got on the league. Salford played some wonderful rugby and came back and led themselves and looked like they were going to win it, and Saints found something at the death to claim it. If we get a game as good as that, this could be one of the best grand finals we've ever seen.
You said Lussick rose an extra leg?
No, Hastings.
Hastings rose an extra. I think we're talking about Cadwyn Springer there. I've forgotten that, yeah. Now, of course, he plays for Toronto, who are in Super League next season. Now, I'm wondering how this question will go down, because on a Monday, well, apart from Scott, because he just sits there and doesn't listen when we talk about serious things. We're fairly pro-Toronto, aren't we? To an extent. Are you all booking your flights to Toronto next year?
No.
No? The next item on coming to the Menderhouse Jungle? No. Our friend Sandy will bring some donuts for you. They're nice donuts.
Been better if Featherstone do one.
Well, they are just down the road, Featherstone. I can confirm that. I mean, we all miss them, don't we? We all totally miss our nearest and dearest. Who do you dislike more, Feather or Leeds?
Leeds.
We all hate Leeds. Toronto are coming up to Super League, and we go ambivalent, really, aren't we, about them?
If he knew what ambivalent was,
Well, they're in, aren't they? You know, they're in. They're qualified, so it's a matter of, well, we've got to get on with it, haven't we? You know, I'm not really into Rugby League in Canada, I'm not into Rugby League in America, I'm not into Rugby League, you know, from that part of the shores, but I guess it's taken them 12 months longer. You know, everybody expected to be in London last year. It's taken them 12 months to brought in 2 people to get them there, which they've done. A brilliant job in McDermott, the coach, and then also to John Wilkin for the experience, what he's brought from there, and the big game experience. But they're in on merit, but I'm excited. To be honest, not really.
We'll be excited when they say, would you like to come over at our expense?
I'll live for 4 days.
It'll be first on the plane. It's a great debate, and we'll throw it open to the floor, and you'll be able to tell people like me who live in ivory towers on Fantasy Island and have been expansionists all their life and want this game to be seen by as many people throughout the world as possible, because I do think it is worthy of it. I can't think, apart from maybe they don't pay some bills quick enough, but show me a rugby league club that doesn't, of a single reason why Toronto won't enhance Super League. Look at the crowds last week. Toronto had a bigger crowd officially, and apparently there were more there than was announced, than Wigan did for their Super League semi-final. It's a brand new market. The argument is they don't have any Canadian players. Rugby League isn't played in Canada yet to any degree. There's a fledgling community game there. Melbourne came into the NRL, and it took them 15 years to get the first player to come through the ranks who was born in Melbourne, who happened to be Mahe Fanua. The football teams that you'll support, I don't follow football, so I can't pick them for you, but predominantly they don't have players from the towns that they play in. I don't know Arsenal's first team squad, but I guess there aren't too many Cockneys that are playing for them at the moment. We desperately need new markets, and to go from nothing to 10,000 committed fans at a sport they don't yet fully understand in 3 years, when they've been playing at a lower level, is something that we should all perhaps get behind. Because the other things it will bring, and obviously we get a bit of inside information, because right from the very beginning, when he was at Celtic Crusaders in fact, and we followed his journey at Toronto, there are corporate partners who will come on board that the sport can't attract at the moment. I think there's a meeting in Manchester on Thursday where they're going to unveil some of the companies that are going to back them now they're in Super League. They're firms that we can't get. There's the potential, and it is only the potential at the moment, of a television deal in North America. Now, we are struggling to get Sky to recommit to us to the same level of money in 2021, and that will affect every club, including this one.
Every fucking club.
So, I just think it's really, really important that we give them a chance. I think the other thing is that it's actually very exciting. We were talking about loop fixtures and repeat fixtures, and when you see Castleford play Huddersfield 5 times in a season, those are some games there that you can miss. But if you bring Toronto to this town, and you've got access to Canadian businesses in this part of West Yorkshire, you've got maybe, they'll bring a couple of hundred fans, they're getting more and more people. We get obsessed with away support. How many fans do certain clubs who are currently in Super League? Toronto will bring more than London did, and that's the team they're replacing. I think the other thing is they don't play any games before April in Canada because of the weather. They're going to take the sport on the road. They're going to showcase it at new venues. Now, again, I'm not sure as a sport we can turn that down. You'll probably remember 1997, the second year of Super League. We had an on-the-road ground, and London and Bradford played in Edinburgh, and a couple of teams played in, Cass might be one of them, played in Northampton. And we got really good crowds, but as Rugby League always does, classic example being Bristol in the 2013 World Cup, we can generate interest. We've got a great sport. The players never let us down. But what we don't do is trade on the back of that, and I just think that Toronto give us an opportunity to do that, and that's why they deserve a chance.
Gary Headington's favourite them, so I'll go down. We've got cakes on the desk, because I don't know if you watch the show on Monday or not, but that's a feature of the programme, is Scoey eating throughout the programme, especially when we start talking about the boring, important things in rugby league and not playing. Because as I was told at the weekend on social media, which is a curse, unless you've played the game, you can't really talk about it because you don't know what's going on the field. We are going to talk about the biggest game of the weekend, because of course Castleford are in action, but the breaking news today, the exciting news, we can't believe it, the Magic Weekend is heading back to Newcastle. Big fans of Newcastle? Yes. Big fans of the Magic Weekend as a concept? Yes. Yeah. Did you all enjoy Anfield? No. No room for your legs, is there? No, terrible. You were, Phil was alright, you was alright. I mean, but no one seems like Anfield. It was in the middle of Well, no, really, there's nothing there. Whereas at Newcastle, we can all go to the pubs because they're all around the outside. And the Chicken Cottage, where we will be on the Saturday night next year. Please join us for chicken and Rugby League debate while we're all drunk. A man who will be there in his dressing gown is a man who loves Newcastle as a venue. It's Garry Schofield, who, in your day, there was no Magic Weekend, but you had plenty of nights away. You told us about that yesterday on the show, much to some people's upset. But Newcastle you enjoy, and I guess you're really happy to be out there this year.
Absolutely, it was a big, well, for me, massive mistake to get to Liverpool, you know, simple as that. And, you know, it's an old saying, is if the chain's not broken, don't try and fix it. And Newcastle's been outstanding. I think every support from all clubs will totally agree with that. And when I first went up to Newcastle 3 years ago, and I said to Nigel Wood, who was in charge, what you need to do here, what you need to do here is, you need to bring international rugby league here. Friday nights under lights, international rugby league, double header. It will be an absolute it will be an absolute sellout. I'm not saying Nigel would listen to me because now they are taking the World Cup opening ceremony to Newcastle in 2020, and I'm sure you're all going to go up there because that will be sensational. But taking it back to Newcastle, it's the right thing to do, and I'm led to believe, speaking to Phil today, that Mr. Elston has decided to listen to supporters. Jeez, I've got the first time somebody from the governing body listening to people who care about the game, they know about the game, they support the game. And so, yeah, mistake going to Liverpool, they've rectified that. Everybody's happy, I'm happy, certainly the businesses in Newcastle will be happy. And I'm sort of speaking to that young lady down there, that couple, they've already booked, and they can't wait for it, I'm sure many can do. Yeah, delighted it's going back to Newcastle.
Brilliant, it's a bank holiday weekend, you can make a real celebration of it. It was always supposed to be a festival. You know, even when we went to Cardiff or Edinburgh didn't have the right ground, but it felt like it was a rugby league party. We all walked through Princes Street after the games to get to the pubs and restaurants in Scotland. Cardiff's a brilliant stadium, a bit like Newcastle, that you could leave part way through a game, go and have a cup of coffee, buy a pair of 1970s shoes, if that's your fashion choice. And we just loved it. But you take it to Manchester or Liverpool and you just go and watch your game. You don't need to stay over. It's just like another round. So I think the important thing is it links into the World Cup. I'd like it to have said that in the press release today. And we can build up to something really special in 2021. My only slight reservation with the Magic Rounds is it should be part of the regular season. It shouldn't be an extra game, apart from the fact that I said at the beginning, we play far too many matches, we need to get rid of loop fixtures. Who you play at Magic can determine where you finish in the league. You know, London lost at Magic. If they'd have won that game, or they'd have had maybe played a team that were out of form that weekend, like Hull, who were abject at Anfield, they might have survived. So I think you've got to be very careful about making it an extra fixture. I think we've probably got enough money in the sport at the moment, and again, without going back to Toronto, they're not taking any money. They haven't cost a single penny so far. So all of the other clubs in Super League will have approximately £100,000 more next season. I think we should be saying half of the clubs 1 year, that's a home fixture. Half of the clubs the next year, it's their home fixture. Make it part of the regular season, keep it as a festival, and absolutely brilliant that we're going back to the best city that could stage it.
Chicken Cottage, be there, great food. Healthy as well. I'm sure it's on there, the dietitians listed Super League. Before we do get onto the big game of the weekend, and we take a break, Great Britain are back. Squad, well, some names now say not going. Sam Burgess has hurt his shoulder. He was watching too much of the other World Cup. Got brought back memories, sadly. #blame Burgess. Also not going, Callum Watkins, who's hurt his rib, probably moving his stuff, moving house to the Gold Coast. And Stevie Ward's injured, got picked up a hamstring, so he'll miss out on the Great Britain squad as well. But as you say, Scott, Liam Watt's only on the standby list for the tour, but you obviously represented Great Britain with great distinction on 46 occasions, joint record. Haven't you heard the answer?
I'll throw them around, don't worry.
He's got more questions, hasn't he?
Should have been.
Yeah, he should have his golden cap. I mean, sign a petition online. They work really well to get his 50th golden cap if he played against the rest of the world. Not the Republic of Ireland, they can play. Against the rest of the world in 1988. And they haven't given you a cap for that one, but they gave Mix-Up on one for a similar fixture. So Scotty's really annoyed about that. But he never mentions it. Great Britain are back. We don't know who England are going to play next year in the run up to the World Cup, apart from we know it's Australia, but we don't know where because it's Rugby League and we don't plan anything in advance, which we'll come to in a moment. But Great Britain are back. How are we going to do on this tour? And you're just annoyed you've not been invited yet, haven't you?
Yeah, unfortunately, because it was organised too late, wasn't it? But anyway, yeah, Sam Burns should be a big loss. I think Sam, for me, should be the captain as well. I'm still a little bit surprised that Shaw-Wright has been mentioned not just as an England player, but also to being a Great Britain captain now. His form does deserve it for me. Well, if I was Wayne Bennett, I would retire Shaw-Wright's international career. You know, he does deserve it from there. But yeah, Sam will be a big loss. I think I would have selected him at loose forward. As far as Callum Watkins, yeah, well and truly out of form. Has been shoved there. And Stevie Ward, well, he's got more injuries what leads than he has, to be honest with you, hasn't he? You know, Stevie, unfortunately, from there. But yeah, looking forward to it. Should be a cracker. Hopefully the Tonga game goes ahead. We all know the dispute what's going on there. But New Zealand, they'll still be smarting for what England have done to them over the last couple of years. And the Papua New Guineans will be absolutely loving the Great Britain tour going out there. I can, you know, been out there twice myself, absolutely love it. It's a national sport. They're absolutely bonkers. The Great Britain emblem should never have been allowed to disband. You know, that Richard Lewis, what an absolute bonkers decision it was for him to disband the Great Britain. And I'm delighted to be back. And as Richard mentioned, you know, the most capped Great Britain player with Nick Sullivan at 46. Which that was going to be my question. How many caps did I have? 46, so he's got one. So the next one is, I've just told you the answer, so it's not putting it out. So it is involving Great Britain for the next balls. I'm the second most highest try scorer for Great Britain. How many tries did I score for Great Britain?
Put your hands up. Anybody?
How many tries? I played 46 times and I scored how many tries?
28.
32. 32.
You need to put your hands up.
22. 23.
Who said? No, love, no.
23.
No.
28.
No.
23.
No.
36.
36. No.
25.
No.
7.
7.
Interceptions.
34.
19.
Not far off getting there.
35.
No.
18. 37.
No.
32.
How many? 33?
34.
Not far off.
33.
Who said? 31, correct, sir. Oh, you've already won it, so...
No. Pockets at school.
Alright, here we go then. There you go, 31. 31. There you go, boss. Thank you very much.
The question later will be how many games is Stowe winning charge when he was the coach of Huddersfield Giants, but we'll let you work out. Better record than everyone who coaches, so when they were rubbish as opposed to now when they're good. Simon Walker, by the way, is our biggest fan. He actually watches the show on a Monday, I don't know why. It's been on my Huddersfield. Are you glad to see a Great backfill or are you not bothered? It's just a little shirt with a different badge on it, man.
Welcome to Political Correctness Hour. You can't say.
Cannibalism in Papua New Guinea.
I mean, there is, he's on the news.
Yeah, it is, honestly.
I think the players will be fine.
You'll be the stew pot for 3 days and they will absolutely love it.
This is someone who had his worst international game in Papua New Guinea.
Sorry?
Didn't you?
Oh, yeah, the tear gas. Oh.
No, but you actually had your worst performance in a great
Oh,
competition in
yeah.
Papua New Guinea.
So
he might be biased.
Great Britain's only lost to Papua New Guinea once and I was to blame, but my debut at stand-off and an absolute stinker and an absolute nightmare, and Mal really turned it around with the team with the speech we had in the hotel after, and the rest is history. But I think Mal really wants to put me in the shoe pot that night. Don't worry about it.
Massive fan of international rugby. We were talking about what sells the sport, what transcends the club game, how much traction can Wakefield playing Warrington have outside of those people that normally watch rugby league. It can only be done by the international game. We have to take that far more seriously than we do. We have to have a varied and mixed programme. We have to have Great Britain every 4 years. The logic, if that's the right word behind splitting it up, was to get funding. Sport England funded England. They weren't going to fund the British Lions. And I think the original plan to defend Richard Lewis a little bit, who was the one thing about him was he was a massive internationalist. He played Davis Cup tennis, and when he arrived at Rugby League, he couldn't understand why people thought a club game was more important than the international game. And he did what he could to spread the word of international Rugby League. And I think if you remember things like the 2000 World Cup, the quarter-final at Headingley was England against Ireland. Look back at who played in that Ireland team, the Barry McDermotts, the Terry O'Connors, Steve Prescott, Luke Ricketson. I think it was something like 22-10 to England, but up to the hour mark, it was give and take. There were 15,000 people there. That has a cut through that Super League doesn't, whether we like it or not. We've just seen this weekend a competition played in the Middle East and Africa. It's 4 nations, 3 of whom are making their debut. Wasn't a great standard, some logistical issues, but those results are bona fide. Those are 3 nations that have started. The next World Cup qualifier might have an African group. The other exciting area is South America at the moment. There's a lot of people, initially in Australia, where it's predominantly heritage players, that are taking the sport back to places like Chile, who were in the World Cup qualifiers this time. Argentina, who we've seen like the handling code and are being given an alternative. Brazil, whose women are going to be in this World Cup. John Key is going to name his Welsh Nines team tomorrow, we believe. And I think Great Britain works because it's got players in it who represent those other nations. So Ian Watson's an assistant coach. He's the joint record cap holder for Wales. Morgan Knowles, I think, will get selected. The other issue, which again I don't think we'll give you the microphone, because I think we know what you think on this. Do you allow heritage players? And I think again, Lachlan Coote made a decision to lose money to come over here to play for Scotland. It meant a lot to him. He played in the 4 nations at his own expense. Kane Lynette came and played in the 2013 World Cup for Scotland. Jackson Hastings has made himself available. He will probably go on tour with Great Britain. He is qualified to do it. We shouldn't beat ourselves up. We shouldn't be the only sport that refuses to pick heritage eligible players. They are eligible. They're either eligible or they're not eligible. I would guess that everybody in this room got ridiculously excited about the Headingley cricket test this summer, which was won by Ben Stokes, who was a New Zealander. I don't remember anybody leaving the ground or turning their televisions off in disgust. It was just a wonderful sporting moment. And it's the nature of the beast. You look at the Rugby Union World Cup at the moment, all of the emerging nations in their competition, they all, it was Italy the other day, had 4 Samoans. We shouldn't hamper ourselves. If it means that England can win a World Cup, and Jackson Hastings is in that team, and Blake Austin is in that team, because we've struggled for halfbacks for too long, bring it on.
Rubbish. Not having Australian dressing room, we don't need to copy other nations whatsoever. We'll be for sure, if we pick the 3 or 4 Aussies what we're on about from there, I don't want to be watching a rest of the world side representing Great Britain. And me as the most capped Great Britain player, I can reassure you, will not be supporting Great Britain. I don't want Aussies in the Great Britain, wearing the Great Britain shirt. And I've said it before, Blake Austin and Jackson Hastings, they'll even be good enough to play for City Country or State of Origin. So what makes them good enough to play for Great Britain? What makes them good enough to be an international Rugby League player? And the competition over here, yes we know, it's totally different to the NRL. The NRL didn't want him, we know from Jackson Hastings' situation off the field. Blake Austin, Canberra Raiders, didn't want him from there. Lachlan Coote, alright, play for Scotland. Also as well, when you look at the big games, bit of a nightmare in the St Helens jersey in the Challenge Cup. It's simple for me. I don't want Great Britain picking Australians.
But the Australians are allowed to pick Italians, Fijians. No, we have to compete. The cut through of winning the 2021 World Cup in this country by England is massive. We have to take that opportunity and play the best players we've got to give us that opportunity.
Yeah, as own players, not the rest of the world side, as own players. By the way, Ben Stokes, his mum and dad in New Zealand, Jed
Stokes has been over who's coaching them. We played over here, Jed. Ben Stokes has been over here since he was 12. Them 2 players, Jackson Hastings, Lachlan, well, sorry for 3 players, and Austin, they've been over here 2 seconds. No, not for me, Phil. No, not a chance.
We've got Michael with us. We all lived in the grove at the church. Was it Massey?
There's only one way of settling this.
Oh, no. Pastor Marley, whatever he was called. He was great. He was
That's
there.
about it, yeah.
And of course, if you are a regular viewer of the show, you'll have seen our friend John Davidson, who is actually Australian, having to put up with Scully many times, explaining to him that all the others are uncapped English anyways, they're just our comics. Which is always good. No one lived in Australia before we was
Richard, what about the audience? Do you want to see a Great Britain side full of Australians?
No.
That'll do for me, thank you very much.
It's only to Nigel Farage show now, big scene. The big, don't touch that. Before we come up to the end of the first half of this extravaganza, we'll be opening it up to questions in a second. That was good. Make sure you ask Scotty about his questions about being on tour with Mal, really, because there's some good ones there if you can think of any that broadcastable. The excitement is the grand final coming up on Friday. Look at the headlines in League Express. It still exists. Peach puts it out of reach. Lines and everything. League Weekly, they go with Castleford Challenge Cup final rematch with Rhinos, because the Castleford Tigers women, who are by far the best team in Castleford as we know, beat Wigan 34-4 the weekend. They won the League Leaders' Shield by a point. Rhiannon Marshall, who was my favourite player up until a point when this is when I fell in love with women's rugby league, was watching Leeds versus Bradford last year. And she absolutely battered some Bradford player when she was at Leeds, and I thought, this is the game for me. And she has continued to be great, having moved to the Tigers, scoring all these tries, especially against the Rhinos earlier in the season. And now she will come up against the Leeds Rhinos on Friday. Many of you been to the games this season?
Yes.
Enjoying them?
Yes.
Ready to see Castleford win their first ever title?
Yes.
Leeds are going to win out this film. Leeds win all these good games. Hospital past them.
We talked about whether the season had been a success or not. The three areas where it's been an undoubted success is the women's game, PDRL and LDRL. They have got so much potential for the sport. We quite rightly claim we're all-inclusive. We demonstrate that better than anyone else. The quality and standard of the top four teams in the women's game has been amazing. Absolutely loved it. I think we've championed it right from the very beginning. Cannot wait for Friday night. There's all the debate about is it being played in the right or the wrong place. As far as the women are concerned, they want to play on a big stage, they want to feel a bit special, and neither team is complaining about being sent to St Helens. The shame is, had it been at the Jungle, I think there'd have been 5,000 people here at least. So we may have made a mistake there, but we were privileged to watch both Challenge Cup finals between the teams over the last 2 years. As good a game as you could want to see, irrespective of who won, which I can easily say. But I can't wait for this game. I absolutely cannot wait. I do think that Castleford have got the best individuals. What Leeds probably is an indefatigable spirit, a teamwork for never giving in, and that might be enough, I don't know. But the really important thing is that we support the women's game. It's been absolutely brilliant this year. Castle led the way. I think getting 1,500 crowds on a regular basis at home just shows you the potential. And we talk about bringing in new sponsors. The women's game, the PDRL and LDR game, they bring in people like solicitors firms who wouldn't normally touch the sport, accountancy firms. They can see the value of it. The fact that Sky is showing the game on Friday night, again, is a step up. We've got some wonderfully skillful players. I think probably it's an age thing, but the women's game reminds me of the one that I grew up with, that it isn't a wrestle in the middle of the field. There is space and time for skill. It's not solely about speed off the line. They have to be incredibly fit. But what we're seeing is rugby league, as I sort of remember it when he played, and he was quite good, that you've got the time and the space to appreciate the best players doing the great things. And we love the women's game, don't really care who wins on Friday, just hope it's an absolute spectacle for the sport.
Yeah, I think for the women games as well, it fills the spaces there from a skill point of view, but I think when you look at the design, you look at the purpose, and the enjoyment what they get out of it, showing the skills from the eight, and also as well, they're not trying to get ripped in, are they? You know, they put the boys on the line, and it's great to see from there. But as Phil mentioned from there, there's a little bit more time to make for themselves from a skill point of view. Yeah, we have got the two best sides playing on Friday night, Castle Leeds. We all know what happened in the final over there at Bolton. Leeds just got that breakaway try from a missed tackle from the scrum. I don't think there'll be too much in it on Friday night, but they'll both get ripped in. Big local derby. But I would anticipate Leeds early interception, reminiscent of 1988, and Leeds going on to win. I'm not a comedian, honestly. I'm a legend. I'm great with predictions.
I was going to say at least no one's been banned in the build-up for this Newcastle, but I'll leave you two to get all the abuse. I think we've reached the end of the first part of this thing. I don't even know what we're doing, to be honest, but we'll be back and answer your questions in a bit. Make sure you go to the bar, spend all the money there, buy all the raffle tickets and do whatever you're supposed to do with these shirts. And if you want a bit of cake, then come up and ask Scully, he'll fly you through it. And if you want a picture with him, well, you can tap a picture with anyone. So thank you very much for listening to the first part of the programme, and we'll speak to you in a bit.